Every end brings a new beginning. Soon after Maggie Smith's divorce in 2018, she started writing inspirational daily Twitter posts. The posts were personal therapy to help overcome her initial shock and grief, but they soon started trending and inspired her to write a title richly sprinkled with quotes and essays. There is vast potential for opportunity and transformation for every new beginning, just like kintsugi, a Japanese method of mending broken ceramics with gold. This piece celebrates the beauty and strength accompanying the unpleasant experience of loss and proves to be a cure-all for anyone who has been through difficult times and is pondering what comes next. Life is long, a long book. Who wants to ruin a book by worrying about the end the whole time? Smith helps readers relate their daily and life challenges to the various bottlenecks writers encounter with the scribbling of their magnum opus. Lengthy writer's block, lazy mornings, and outright discouragements are some things she tries to compare to the problems of the average individual. Accept change as a part of life and be ready to continue your journey. This summary assesses the various stages of grief and the melancholy that emanates from it. We will run through the best ways of mitigating such common setbacks. So, join us in this transformational piece and create admirable beauty out of the ashes of your life. Take a moment to rethink your story. Revising entails trying to reimagine a scenario or object. With many writers, revision is often an exciting, sometimes favorite aspect of writing. Writers often experience a rush of ideas, the scribbling sensation, and ecstatic times of seamless cognition while penning a story or poem. Ordinary people similarly face so many blank pages, all the empty days, months, and years ahead in charting the course of their day-to-day lives. Part of the work in assessing your mileage in the journey of life is asking yourself difficult questions like, who did I want to be relative to your present status? What have I given up, sacrificed, or abandoned on my journey? How can I reclaim a part of my former self from that previous version? Where can I find inspiration? How can I bring that spark of hope into my life? Our lives may not turn out the way we planned or expected. However, the other option, jumping to the book's conclusion and learning the result beforehand, is not just unrealistic, but dull and lacking fulfillment. Analyze your background and see struggles and changes as an opportunity to create a better life. It's not simple to adjust our tales, much alone our identities, and our narratives may take an unexpected turn. We may find ourselves in the middle of a psychological thriller, a melodrama, a love story, or a comedy. We have no idea what will happen next, or even how the entire event will finish. However, we continue to go further. Growing beauty from ashes. There's a time for blooming in everything. Whether you learn this from the scriptures or the radio, the concepts are the same. Everything has its time. The difficulty is that we can't alter the cycle. We start healing just because we're bored of mourning or it's taking longer than expected. Grieving for someone who is still alive differs from sorrow for someone who has passed away. The common term for a woman whose husband has died is widow, yet there isn't a specific word for someone experiencing the loss of a living person, like a child, partner, family member, or lifelong friend. Any life changes that do not meet your expectations are a loss, so give yourself time to grieve. Suddenly, the enchantment vanishes, the sky turns a dull gray, and the trees are stripped of their leaves. In these moments, the dawn's arrival feels peculiar and fades away as though nothing unusual has occurred. The idea that life has always lacked beauty and that happiness has never been a part of our experience seems so natural. Yet it was indeed a beautiful life, a splendid season. A little effort in reminiscing brings back those happy times. However, it is sometimes interesting how the changing seasons temper or morph our emotions. It was the case with Maggie Smith. As the lush green months of spring arrived, with beauty emerging everywhere, her grief started to recede, bit by bit. Each season comes with a peculiar set of gifts. So, what does life's most challenging season have in store for you? Above all, such seasons shore up the belief in your ability to enjoy a rebound after a long winter, to grow more tenacious and lively than ever. It also kindles the idea that change unleashes the realm of possibility and the belief that spring is your season of renewal. Meanwhile, you can see more blue skies thanks to the bare and leafless trees. Moving forward despite challenges. Whenever woodland burns, the trees have no option but to watch helplessly as the flames consume them. They can't run or fly away like jackrabbits, deer, or hawks. However, certain trees, like the lodgepole pine, jack pine, and table mountain pine, have evolved to withstand and thrive under fire. They need fire to survive. Because they spent time in the inferno, they are stronger and more numerous. Every fire that rages through your life will serve as a tutor and show you how much you can withstand. Each fire teaches resilience and regeneration, demonstrating that something will bloom after it has passed, and what sprouts after a fire cannot be born some other way. Post-traumatic stress disorder is a well-known concept. Trauma causes psychological and bodily harm, which we have grown to accept or expect. But what about post-traumatic development, defined as the positive transformation due to overcoming severe life challenges or traumatic experiences? Experts say people not only recover quickly after traumatic situations, they advance, taking professional risks, deepening relationships, and experiencing a greater sense of appreciation. We typically consider loss solely distressing, but it can also be productive because every closure is a commencement. When something disappears, it makes room for new to come. We lament a tragedy when we grieve, but why don't we consider what may bloom in that empty spot? Every loss is an opportunity to create limitless iterations of possibilities. There might be times when your entire life seems to be going up in flames, but rest assured that renewal comes afterward. Trust in what will bloom, what will spring after something else has been consumed by the fires of life. The immediate evidence may be a charred landscape that looks barren, but you can remain assured that you will grow, fire after fire, time after time. Accept life traumas as part of the experience. Kintsugi, also known as golden joinery, or its alternative name, kintsukuroi, golden repair, refers to a traditional Japanese method used for centuries to mend broken porcelain using gold. Instead of concealing dish fractures, the artisans fill them with lacquer mixed with powdered gold, silver, or platinum. It makes the cracks shimmer where the pieces fit together. Mistakes and losses are a part of life, so treat them with respect and be thankful for the lessons they teach you. Kintsugi is based on the notion that a thing is not attractive just because we ignore its flaws, but because of the harm it has endured. You must accept your periodic fragility and be open about your struggles. Visualize yourself healing the crevices with precious metals as you openly discuss and share your problems, sadness, stress, and relationship breakdowns. You're exposing the cracks, the indications of endurance, those wounds you're proud of, and letting them shine. Discussing your heartbreak will offer you a renewed purpose and direction and a fresh understanding of and even thankfulness for the scars. The gauges are, of course, unbalanced. If you feel broken, the very least you can do is create something out of it that could aid your healing. If we allow them, our challenges will ultimately alter us. They may also transform other individuals if we let the fractures appear. We can only be reflectors for each other if we acknowledge flaws and instability by filling the crevices with gold. When we express our vulnerabilities, we don't say, "Look at me," but rather, "Look at us." The healing power of loneliness. The basic steps of a butterfly's transformation, larva, chrysalis, butterfly, are a good illustration of metamorphosis. The odd part of the shape-shifting sleep is what transpires within a cocoon to cause a caterpillar to turn into a butterfly. You might find it interesting that a caterpillar turns into a liquid and then changes into a different creature. What's really impressive is that the butterfly might retain memories from its early stage of development. It remains the same, yet completely changes. It's both itself and not. Holding on to its past life while embracing the new one, it gains the ability to fly. Maggie Smith explains that after her marriage ended badly, her family's dynamic shifted from 4 members to 3, transforming into something different yet still familiar. It was an example of metamorphosis when a part of the past life remained, but it was never the same again. When you're alone, you can relax and freely live your authentic life without excuses, loving yourself in a way nobody else can. So when you find yourself solitary, not necessarily in the absence of others, but perhaps without human interaction, consider embracing this moment to recharge and rejuvenate. Be grateful for the privacy. This time alone allows you to ask compelling questions like, "Who am I and what do I want?" Make the most of your alone time by engaging with someone you can trust and rely on, yourself. Begin your healing by filling the void that grief has left. What you learn along the way could be as startling as the caterpillar's transition. Life after defeat is not only tolerable, but enjoyable. It may in fact be finer, better, and more significant. It may come as a surprise that your ideal life emerges after a weird and difficult change, such as experiencing the abyss and emerging with wings. Did you know? According to a recent Harvard University survey, 36% of all Americans, including 61% of young adults and 51% of moms of small children, experience severe loneliness. Boosting optimism and hope. When Maggie Smith's marriage ended badly, she learned something surprising and life-changing. Being a cynic would benefit no one. She recognized that pessimism wouldn't get her out of bed, make her espresso, pack her children's sandwiches, do her chores, or help her meet deadlines. She refused to let horrible ideas collect twigs and ribbons in her head and create a permanent residence there. Smith and her kids were not going to benefit from pessimism, so amid a challenging period, she realized that being cheerful in the present moment was a gift she could offer herself. Even if what you wish for doesn't manifest, try such thinking patterns through times of anguish and loss. In the meantime, keep nurturing your spirit. Consider yourself a recovering cynic today. A single hopeful individual can outperform 1,000 pessimists. Why? Because an upbeat individual will give their aspirations a chance to come true. Train yourself to hope and to make more room in your head for positive vibes to swarm, snuggle in, and soar. Constantly keep hope with you through sadness and confusion, despite tragedy and grief, both communal and private. You will keep moving forward and refusing to return to your messy past. Yes, the historical background is extensive, a trove, and some items in the vault may console you since they are recognizable. You, on the other hand, cannot afford to return there. Stop expecting the worst. At least as many things could go right as could go wrong. It is almost impossible to traverse the tracks of life without scaling hurdles and jumping puddles. Falling occasionally along the way may be a given. However, how you respond to such setbacks influences your quality of life. It may surprise you to learn that many people who survived highly traumatic events like the Holocaust, the Civil War, or the 9/11 attacks bravely went on to live fulfilling and purposeful lives. This ability to thrive after a crisis is because they kept moving and did not allow the prevailing realities to weigh them down. Finding yourself in a similar predicament as Maggie Smith will require you to assess the situation. First, appreciate the joys and happiness of yesteryear or the season before the new normal. Then, chart a plan to weather the storm in some psychological bunker. Irrespective of how dire the grief or loss might be, there is still great potential to achieve from the most terrible situations. No one would readily nominate themselves as victims of trauma, loss, or grief for some benefits to glean, just like no one starts a wildfire to help pine cones sprout. But when trying times come around, searching out beneficial potentials and making the best of them will aid the healing. If we allow them, our challenges will ultimately alter us. They may also transform other individuals if we let the fractures appear. We can only be reflectors for each other if we acknowledge flaws and instability by filling the crevices with gold. When we express our vulnerabilities, we don't say, "Look at me," but rather, "Look at us." Try this. To forge on after passing through the fire and challenges of life, take the following steps. Do a reality check of your present emotional and psychological state. Count and acknowledge your loss and appreciate previous joys. Mend the fragments of your life by filling the cracks with valuable resources. Anticipate and take advantage of the transformation that comes after the grief. Maintain a healthy flow of thoughts.